and welcome to this week's Wildlife Matters podcast. The spring of 2025 is considered to be one of the warmest on record for the UK, with both March and April experiencing record-breaking temperatures. March 2025 was the warmest on record for Europe and the second warmest globally. The UK's mean temperature for April was also notably high, making it the third warmest April since records began. So while we enjoy the sunshine, let's take a moment to consider the wildlife that shares our world and our gardens with us. To help support wildlife during warm weather, please provide water sources, create shaded areas, and avoid cutting back plants and shrubs in your gardens. Offering shallow dishes of water, placing them in shaded spots, and ensuring they are cleaned regularly will help animals to stay hydrated. And on today's episode of the Wildlife Matters podcast, we will feature one of the most incredible amphibians that is native to the UK, the remarkable common frog. Join me by a lake at dawn on the Gwent Levels for some time in nature in this week's Wildlife Matters Mindful Moments. And we're also going to be trying something new in this week's Wildlife Matters and Nature News. As the government's new planning and infrastructure bill moves through Parliament, which could mean the end of many protections for wildlife and nature to allow for more development, we will take a look at some of the fantastic wildlife that is currently protected under law in the UK. That is coming up next on this week's Wildlife Matters Nature News. Hello and welcome to this week's Wildlife Matters and Nature News, where we have something a little different for you today. With the proposed planning and infrastructure bill currently being discussed by the British government, we're going to take a look at some of the wildlife species that are currently protected in Britain, which may be changed to allow for the development of more homes for people who will be displacing our wildlife. And this is from an article that Wildlife Matters is about to publish. The first species to look at is the pine marten. Now, the pine marten is a charming and agile member of the mustelid family, which includes other animals such as weasels, badgers, and otters. These carnivorous mammals occupy a wide range of habitats throughout most of Europe and parts of the Middle East. They are noted for their keen sense of sight, smell, and hearing, making them exceptional hunters. Pine martens are easily recognizable by their distinctive coats, which range in color from light to dark brown, and are complemented by a cream or yellow bib on their throats. While these animals typically favour woodland environments, they are adaptable and they can survive in more open spaces as long as sufficient tree cover is available for shelter. Despite having stable populations in much of Europe, pine martens face serious threats, particularly in England and Wales. In the UK, pine martens are illegally protected under the Wildlife and Countryside Act of 1981. This means it is illegal to intentionally kill, injure, or capture them, or to disturb them in their dens. Additionally, it's an offence to damage, destroy, or obstruct access to their dens. Hunting and significant habitat loss have led to a critically endangered status for these mammals in these regions. Conservation efforts are essential to ensure their survival and to maintain the ecological balance within their native habitats. Protected species, barn owls. Barn owls are captivating and ethereal creatures, instantly recognisable by their distinct heart-shaped faces that seem to beam with a serene wisdom. Their feathers, dappled with soft browns and tans, blend harmoniously with rustic landscapes that they inhabit, while their strikingly pristine white bellies glisten in the moonlight, creating a striking contrast against a twilight sky. These majestic birds flourish in serene rural environments, where the vast open expanses provide ample opportunities for them to hunt and forage, and with their keen sense of hearing and exceptional night vision, barn owls glide silently through the fields and meadows of Britain, masterfully locating their prey beneath the cover of darkness. When it comes to nesting, barn owls display remarkable adaptability. They often take refuge in abandoned buildings, old barns, and even tree cavities, making use of whatever shelter the landscape offers. In the UK, barn owls and all owl species are granted robust legal protection under the Wildlife and Countryside Act of 1981, classified as a Schedule 1 bird. This important legal status ensures enhanced protection for these enchanting creatures and includes safeguarding their nests, eggs, and young from any harm, reflective of the commitment to preserve and respect their integral role in our ecosystems. Protected species: frogs and toads. Frogs and toads are fascinating amphibians, as we will hear in this week's A Wildlife Matters main feature. While they may appear similar at first glance, they have distinct differences. Frogs boast sleek, smooth skin that maintains a moist appearance even out of water, and their long legs make them exceptional jumpers. In contrast, toads are characterized by their bumpy, warty skin, stocky bodies, and shorter legs. Both frogs and toads are ferocious eaters, primarily consuming insects and woodlice. Frogs have a particular fondness for slugs and snails, while toads prefer ants, making them excellent allies in natural pest control. As amphibians, they rely on water for survival and thrive in moist environments, which is why they are commonly found in and around ponds and marshy regions of the country. They inhabit nearly every continent except for Antarctica. Protected species: bats. Bats have long been unjustly maligned thanks to folklore and fantasy stories, but these nocturnal flying mammals are genuinely fascinating. Contrary to popular belief, bats are not blind. They possess small eyes with sensitive vision, allowing them to see clearly in complete darkness. But it's with the help of echolocation, also known as biosonar, that bats can navigate their surroundings and hunt for food effectively and efficiently. There are over 1,400 species of bats around the world, and they thrive in a variety of habitats as they feed, roost, and travel throughout the year. Bats prefer quiet, dark spaces for sleeping and breeding, which often leads them to settle in attics and outbuildings. It's important to note that bats are protected by law. Certain plants rely on bats for pollination, and bats play a crucial role in controlling insect populations. All species of bats in Britain are legally protected, meaning it is illegal to take, injure, or destroy a wild bat or disturb their roosts. If you discover bats inhabiting your property, their roost is legally protected. So please make sure that all exit points remain unblocked and seek advice from Bat Conservation Trust to handle the situation responsibly. Protected species are great crested newts. Great crested newts are fascinating amphibians that, like frogs and toads, thrive in proximity to water. They can reach a length of 17 centimetres or 6.7 inches and are easily recognisable due to their unique skin characteristics. These newts exhibit a dark coloration with spotted flanks and a vibrant orange belly. Males display a long, wavy crest along their bodies during the breeding season. similar to the texture of toads with their warty skins. While great crested newts are often associated with ponds, they also inhabit woodlands, hedgerows and marshes for significant portions of the year. It's important to note that they have specific water requirements and do not typically inhabit garden ponds. In the UK and Europe, the great crested newt is legally protected due to its declining population. Factors such as habitat fragmentation, disease and climate change, and overdevelopment are leading contributors to their diminishing numbers, highlighting the need for conservation efforts. Protected species, badgers. Badgers are robust, short-legged omnivores known for their striking black and white striped faces and fluffy tails, complemented by their distinctive black bellies and paws. As exceptional diggers equipped with strong claws, they are primarily nocturnal creatures. These fascinating animals create intricate homes that are called setts, tunnels that they dig underground, and they can be found across most of Europe and North America. While they typically inhabit the edges of woodlands and rural areas, badgers are adapting to urban life due to habitat development and, in certain parts of Britain, culling of badgers, often venturing into town gardens in search of food. This can occasionally result in damage to lawns and flower beds. However, they are generally harmless to humans. If you're facing issues with badgers disturbing your garden, it's important to understand that they are a protected species in the UK. Legally, you cannot bring harm to a badger, disturb them, or remove them, which includes digging up their setts or allowing dogs to enter their setts. Instead of confronting them directly, focus on deterring badgers from your garden by eliminating whatever it is that's attracting them, such as food sources or shelter. The Badger Trust, the leading organisation advocating for badgers in England and Wales, encourages everyone to coexist harmoniously with these remarkable creatures. Badgers do play a vital role in our ecosystem by dispersing seeds through their dung and creating essential habitats for amphibians, plants and small mammals. So embrace the opportunity to make space for them. After all, they do contribute significantly to biodiversity, and they have been native in the UK for over 250,000 years. And that's longer than humans have been here. Protected species, beetles. Did you know that approximately 1 in every 5 known species on Earth is a beetle? Yeah. That staggering statistic highlights just how diverse and numerous these remarkable insects are, with more than 400,000 distinct species documented worldwide. Despite their abundance, beetles are often suffer from a negative reputation, overshadowed by common misconceptions. However, they play an invaluable role in maintaining the health of our planet. In the UK and Europe, both the stag and rainbow leaf beetles are legally protected due to their significant ecological contributions. Beetles are nature's recyclers of vital nutrients, working tirelessly to enhance soil fertility. They contribute to the intricate web of life by acting as crucial pollinators, aiding in the reproduction of various plants, and furthermore, they serve as natural predators, keeping garden species such as greenflies and snails in check and thereby maintaining a delicate ecological balance. Among them, stag beetles stand out as the largest beetle species in Britain. Unfortunately, their populations are dwindling across much of the UK, making them a rare sight. These magnificent beetles are typically found in woodlands, hedgerows, orchards, parks and gardens, where they thrive in environments abundant with decaying wood, which constitutes their primary food source. Observing them in their natural habitat offers a glimpse into the fascinating world of beetles. Protected species, dormice. The dormouse is a charming and undeniably adorable nocturnal rodent native in Britain, Europe, and throughout some of Africa and Asia. They're known for their impressive hibernation capabilities, as these small creatures can remain dormant for up to 6 months and sometimes even longer of the year, and it's reflected in their name. They typically measure around 6 centimetres or 2.4 inches to a maximum of around 9 centimetres, which is around 3.5 inches in length. With their golden brown fur, large black eyes and long fluffy tails, dormice have a distinctive appearance. And they thrive in woodlands and hedgerows, feasting on a varied diet of insects, flowers, seeds and berries. Although their petite size may occasionally lead them into homes, they are harmless and pose no threat at all. Unfortunately, the hazel dormouse ranks as one of Britain's rarest mammals, with its population declining dramatically by an estimated 52% since 1995. The destruction of ancient woodlands and hedgerows is a significant factor in their decline. As a result, dormice are now protected under UK and European law, and homeowners should actively contribute to their conservation by keeping good environments, and that means using hedging rather than fencing wherever you can. If your property is rich in trees and bordered by hedgerows, refrain from excessive cutting. Should a dormouse wander into your barn, garage or home, don't attempt to handle it yourself, as a license is required. The best approach is to allow the dormouse to exit on its own, or you must contact a licensed professional for assistance. For further help or research, please do contact the PTES, which is the People's Trust for Endangered Species. Protected species, grasshoppers and crickets. Grasshoppers and crickets thrive in sunny or grassy areas, including gardens during the winter months. These remarkable orthopteran insects feature tube-shaped bodies, 6 long legs, and front antennae that are highly sensitive to touch, smell, and in particular species, sound. In the UK, several grasshopper and cricket species, such as the field cricket, mole cricket, and the warp-biter grasshopper, are protected due to their crucial role as a food source for birds and other reptiles. Their decline could significantly disrupt entire ecosystems, so it's essential to recognise their importance. If you have grasshoppers or crickets in your garden, it's best to leave them undisturbed. Please don't use any chemicals or sprays, as that is one of the ways that absolutely destroy such a wonderful insect and remove them from our ecosystems and biodiversity. Protected species, foxes. Foxes are found throughout Europe, Asia, North Africa, and most of North America. These intelligent and adaptable omnivores are easily recognized by their upright triangular ears, pointed snouts, and long, bushy tails. Foxes are harmless to humans and generally to other creatures, but during mating season in January, they can display more adventurous behaviours as they seek out dens for raising their young. In Britain, foxes are partially protected, ensuring their welfare and safety. It is illegal to poison them, and they are protected under the Wildlife and Countryside Act. Additionally, any form of abuse or mistreatment is prohibited by the Wild Mammals Protection Act of 1996. If a fox has established a burrow in your garden, you should wait until late summer when the cubs have left the den before considering any future deterrents. Protected species, moles. Moles are undeniably charming and truly unique creatures. These small mammals primarily live underground in intricate burrows, which they expertly create with their powerful forelimbs and large paws. With their velvety fur and subtle eyes and ears, moles are fascinating animals that scientists believe they could be both colourblind and nearsighted. You can find moles in much of Europe, North America and Asia, where they establish their homes in fields, woodlands and sometimes in gardens. Although moles are often mistakenly seen as pests due to their burrowing habits, which can damage lawns, they play an essential role in ecosystems by aerating the soil and controlling other garden so-called pests such as slugs. In Britain, moles are protected from cruelty under the Wild Mammals Protection Act of 1996. When trapped or captured, they are also covered by the Animal Welfare Act of 2006. While humane traps are available, it's advisable to seek expert advice to handle any situations involving these remarkable animals responsibly. I do hope you've enjoyed our look at some of the wild animals that are protected species here in the UK on this week's Wildlife Matters Nature News. And if you share our concerns that the new Planning and Infrastructure Bill will weaken protection for wildlife and nature, then please do get in touch with your MP. Thank you. We do hope you've enjoyed our exploration of some of Britain's most loved and protected wildlife species, which face the risk of losing their protection if developers choose to build on their habitats and foraging grounds. It's possible to develop homes for people without destroying habitat of wildlife. There is a better way to handle development. And if you agree, we encourage you to write to your MP and ask them to advocate for protected wildlife and nature. Recently, I spent a few days in South Wales immersing myself in the beautiful landscape and wildlife of the Gwent Levels. Picture yourself on the shores of a lake as the waters lap against that shore, accompanied by a full dawn chorus in the background. And join me for this week's Wildlife Matters Mindful Moments. Well, I hope you found that rhythmic sound of the water lapping against the shore of the lake as meditative as I did. As the sun heralded the beginning of another beautiful, warm spring day, I bathed in the calm waters of the lake with no one else around. It was a remarkable, memorable experience and a wonderful way to start the day. One native animal I didn't see at the lake was the enigmatic common frog, and sadly not so common today here in the UK. However, it is the star of this week's main feature on the Wildlife Matters podcast, which is coming up next. Hello and welcome to this week's Wildlife Matters main feature. And today we're talking about the common frog. Once a familiar presence across the verdant landscapes of the UK, but it now faces a grave threat to its very survival. This decline is attributed mainly to the relentless loss of its natural habitat, driven by urban development, dwindling pond populations, inadequate habitat management, and the spread of disease. Despite these pressing challenges, garden ponds have emerged as crucial sanctuaries for common frogs, especially in suburban areas, creating a haven for these charming amphibians. As the gentle warmth of spring begins to thaw the chill air of winter, you may spot glistening frog spawn nestled in your garden pond, heralding the return of adult frogs. In southern parts of the UK, it's not uncommon to find these spawn clusters as early as January or February. Common frogs typically reach maturity and are ready to breed by 2 to 3 years of age, embarking on a journey to the nearest pond. Once there, male frogs will serenade the night with a soft, resonant purring sound to allure their future mates. If you hear these melodic calls echoing near your garden pond, it's a delightful indication that the common frogs are nearby. Upon locating a compatible partner, the male frog employs the swollen nuptial pads on his front legs to clasp the female in a tender mating embrace that's known as an amplexus. The eggs, which are affectionately known as spawn, are deposited in the shallows, where they'll lie encased in a translucent jelly that is composed of over 99% water. A single clump of spawn can contain nearly 2,000 eggs, and that's a real testament to the frog's prolific reproduction capacity. Within 2 to 4 weeks, the young tadpoles will emerge, adapting to their vibrant new aquatic world. These tadpoles are distinguishable by their delicate golden brown speckles, which set them apart from the deep black tadpoles of common toads, and they begin their transformation during metamorphosis. They initially develop their back legs, followed by their front legs, relying on a diet that is rich in algae and tiny water fleas to flourish. By June or early July, the tadpoles are often fully mature, absorbing their tails and ready to transition into the terrestrial realm as tiny froglets. Adult female common frogs can grow to an impressive 15 centimetres in length, while their male counterparts are typically smaller, around 10 centimetres. Their skin is smooth. It's moist olive green or brown canvas, often adorned with dark patches behind their eyes, which are known colloquially as their mask. However, common frogs exhibit a stunning variety of hues, including shades of yellow, orange, red, and even blue. Their backs are often embellished with spots or irregular markings, while their hind legs may boast a striking darker striping. In their first leap into adulthood, frogs and newly transformed froglets can venture hundreds of meters away from their aquatic habitat. Remarkably, they don't consume water in the traditional sense. Instead, they absorb hydration through their permeable skin, necessitating proximity to water sources. As autumn approaches, adult frogs and froglets prepare for hibernation. Feasting on a diet that is rich in invertebrates, including insects, worms, slugs, and snails, they'll employ a unique feeding mechanism. They use their eyes to swallow food by retracting them into their heads to aid in pushing meals down their throats. As daylight wanes and the shadows lengthen, common frogs seek refuge under rocks. They might nestle in compost heaps or resting at the bottom of garden ponds. They'll enter a state of partial hibernation. They're not fully dormant, but instead take advantage of mild weather spells to emerge and forage in search of sustenance. Scientific studies have shed light on the fascinating personalities of common frogs, revealing distinct behavioural patterns shaped by their environments. Frogs inhabiting islands or isolated communities often display more outgoing and bold characteristics, which is a fascinating reflection of their surroundings. And frogs are deeply woven into the fabric of British folklore. In some regions, the rhythmic croaking of a frog at midnight signals the onset of rain, while in others, daytime croaking heralds approaching storms. An intriguing tale from the 15th century suggests that wearing a dried frog in a pouch around one's neck could ward off epileptic seizures. And live frogs are often featured in folk remedies, with beliefs that placing a live frog in one's mouth could cure thrush, and swallowing these amphibians may alleviate the conditions of whooping cough and tuberculosis. However, these old medical tales are often misguided. Cultural perceptions of frogs vary widely. In some traditions, a frog entering the home is considered a harbinger of good fortune, while in others it may symbolize bad luck, as frogs are sometimes associated with spells and curses. Notably, a common thread exists across many cultures, the belief that harming a frog is an ill omen. The lore surrounding witches and potions from childhood stories, featuring components like the eye, toe, or leg of a frog, refers not to actual frogs, but to a toxic plant from the buttercup family, often known as frog's foot. In recognition of their dwindling populations, common frogs and their spawn are legally protected from trade and sale in Great Britain and Northern Ireland. This safeguard is vital for their survival and a reassuring step towards conservation efforts. These remarkable creatures captivate our imagination, and addressing the myriad of misconceptions surrounding them is crucial. Thank you for joining us on our Wildlife Matters main feature on native amphibians, where we started with the common frog. In future episodes, we will be looking at the native toad and enchanting newts of Great Britain. So don't forget to subscribe and share wherever you see the Wildlife Matters podcast. For too many of us, perhaps the only time we think of frogs is when we see their spawn in late winter and early spring. But as a child, I was fascinated, not only by the spawn, but also by the tadpoles as they went through their various stages, and later by the tiny froglets as they left the ponds in the area we affectionately called the swamp. It was a wet and untamed landscape that provided my friends and I with endless adventures as children. In our next episode of the Wildlife Matters podcast, we will spend a night with wild beavers in the West Country, and that is one episode you will not want to miss. We genuinely appreciate hearing from more of you, and thank you for your feedback and comments about the podcast. You may have noticed that we have turned down the background music in our features, and we hope that this improves the listening experience for those who found it distracting. However, for a fully immersive experience, we recommend always listening to the Wildlife Matters podcast through headphones, or at least whenever possible. As always, thank you for taking the time to join us today. We hope you have found something new or inspiring in today's features. And Wildlife Matters will return in 2 weeks. But until then, stay curious, wild ones. This is Wildlife Matters signing off.